This is the Hawk Talk podcast from River Valley School District. This podcast is a vehicle for sharing many of the great things taking place in River Valley schools. Thanks for listening. Welcome to the Hawk Talk podcast. I'm Mike McDermott. I'm your host, and on this episode, we'll talk with elementary music director Nick Ellinger. Next Monday and Tuesday, our elementary students will be seeing and performing in a special production staged by Opera for the Young. Welcome, Nick.
Hi, Mac.
Tell us about Opera for the Young and how we got them to come to the River Valley schools.
Opera for the Young is a professional opera organization from Madison. They perform operas for elementary students and some middle school students, but mostly elementary school age students. And their mission is to make opera accessible to everyone. A lot of us have misconceptions about opera, which I've kind of talked about with my kids the past couple weeks to prepare them for this concert, as something that's really not to be understood by the general public. But Opera for the Young takes a full opera. In this case, it's Rusalka by a composer named Antonín Dvořák, a Czech composer in the 19th and 20th centuries. And the opera is called Rusalka. And they take this full 3.5-hour opera and condense it while still maintaining a lot of its artistic integrity to a shorter version, in this case about an hour. And they also take the material and rewrite some of it to add elementary student performers to it. And they've been doing this, I don't really know how many years, but I know that I've had them come back in my previous stint as the elementary music teacher back in the early 2000s. And I know Alyssa Brewer, former music teacher, also brought the organization. And they do a really wonderful job of adapting and including adapting the music and including elementary students in their performances.
I saw a performance at Plain Elementary a number of years ago. It was probably, as you said, the early 2000s, and the students did seem to really relish the parts that they played, and the performers from the Opera for the Young were outstanding with working with our kids.
They are. Most of them have probably had positive experiences in their elementary and middle school and high school music programs, and they want to share their experiences with the current younger student population. And yeah, they do. They really do involve kids. In this case, in this opera, the students, it's basically the story of The Little Mermaid. Most of your audience will recognize that story from Disney. But the story actually dates back a lot earlier to the book, The Little Mermaid. It's the same sort of story. A mermaid wants to come up on land so she can experience what it's like to be human, and she has to make some sacrifices. And the kids in this performance play the parts of sea creatures, which actually are parts of the real opera written by Dvořák. And they also play the parts of some foreign dignitaries, and just teaching them what dignitaries meant was an interesting aspect of my job. And it's very fun. They have some very fun music, some spooky, some humorous, and they've done a nice job preparing both at Arena and at River Valley Elementary.
So the inclusion of students is unique, right? And whereas sometimes a musical group might come in and play for the students, but in this case, they're not just performing or playing for the students, but they've got the students involved.
Right. There are four songs that fully involve the 16 students that are part of the production. I've also taught some of the music to the entire student population so that they're not going in cold to the production, so that they'll recognize what's happening. So the Opera for the Young has sent you the music, and you've been working with the students who are in the performance as well? Mm-hmm. Yep. The students have met outside of the normal school time where I would see them in their classes. And I think I mentioned there are 16 kids that are involved at each school. And there are many more that were interested, so I had to invite them in to audition, and it was really hard to choose. Especially here at the River Elementary, there were over 100 kids that were interested, and they all came in, and anyone could have done it, and I just had to kind of pick and choose. And I chose a few more fifth graders than fourth and third, and I didn't want to go lower than third grade because I think it would have been harder to assimilate a wide age group. But yeah, so we rehearsed since probably middle of December. I know at Arena it's been a little harder. We've missed some Mondays, both through vacation and through a snow day, and so I'll be trying to get out there this week to practice a little extra with them.
But how encouraging that so many students want to be part of a performance like this.
Yeah, I think it speaks to just the general exuberant nature of elementary school age kids. They want to do anything for the most part.
exactly.
Except
and
stack up their chairs at the end of the class.
they draw the line. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
But that's great. The opportunity for us to see students performing in a situation like this is fantastic.
Yeah,
And
you mentioned having kids in an opera is kind of unique, and it is for the most part. Although there are some operas, in fact, one that's been done by Opera for the Young, which is Hansel and Gretel, involves the full-length opera does involve some extensive student chorus work on stage. So that one might have been a little easier to adapt, but for the most part, they do a lot of adapting, but they make it very seamless. I mean, it seems like their character, and to the elementary students that are going to watch this, and parents who might come, it'll seem like that. Wow, that's how that opera goes. So they're very talented people. I know at least the person who is the pianist, at least when I used to do this, his name is Vincent Fu, and I'm not sure if it's still him, but he was a classmate of mine in Madison when I was an undergraduate student there, and he's just a wizard on the piano. I can kind of improvise and play, but they take a full orchestral score and they condense it into the piano, and at the same time they're writing parts for kids, and it sounds like, if you're there and you're not used to seeing an opera, you'll think, well, that just sounds like a full orchestra. So, like you mentioned, the performers on stage, there are 4 of them in this one, super talented. It's not like, people who can't be in opera somewhere else. It's people who want to take their craft and use it to benefit students.
Outstanding. It seems to me that when they performed at Plain Elementary, in the show that I saw, they also pulled in an administrator from the school and gave that person a role. Do you know if that's part of this show as well?
It's been a while since I've done it, and I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. They'll take the students for about an hour, even though they're prepared. They're not prepared with their blocking or where they're going to be going on stage or when they're going to enter and exit. And so they'll practice with them during that time, and they usually involve the audience in some way. Sometimes they'll involve some more kids. They'll pick some kids out of the audience, or they'll ask me ahead of time, who's someone that we can involve? So
sure.
I'll say Mike McDermott.
And I'll be exit stage right shortly before that happens.
I've seen pictures. I was not involved in one at Plain, but I know that I've been at productions at Lone Rock and Arena and Spring Green and their gyms over the years, and I know that they've involved teachers as well. And I've seen some nice pictures of Mr. Eastlick, 5th grade teacher here at River Valley Elementary, dressed up in a very beautiful gown. I've seen him. He looks really good in a dress.
That's outstanding. Outstanding. Yeah, well, and we will be taking photographs, but we're not allowed to take video. So we're accustomed to being able to post videotapes of concerts that we have or performances that we have at school. But part of the copyright issue here is that we're not allowed to take video. So for people who are looking to see a video, we'll post some still photos, but video is not possible.
Yeah, exactly. That's their policy.
Yeah. So. Well, very good. Looking forward to that. And just one more question on the music topic at the elementary school. There's going to be a spring concert this year at River Valley Elementary.
There is. It'll be on May 10th.
Great.
Yep. Great.
Is there a theme for the spring concert?
I don't know that there's a theme. I know that there'll be some songs kind of from some of the old-time rock and roll era.
Great.
There'll also be, it'll be typical to the concerts that I do, where there's a lot of activity on stage. There'll be a lot of instruments being played, both rhythm and melody. There'll be some dancing. There'll be some surprises too. And quite honestly, I don't know exactly all the songs that'll be in there, but I have been working on it the past couple of weeks, and I definitely have it narrowed down. I can almost guarantee that there won't be any holiday music in it, though. Although, who knows? Maybe I'll jump into Jingle Bells or something, but yeah, probably not.
Well, good. It's really, I just wanted to talk about spring. It's mid-January, and anything that we can talk about spring, that sounds great.
How about we have golf be the theme?
We'll look forward to that. I'm sure there's plenty of music with a golf theme around it. So
I think there are 4 songs.
We will look forward to the opera for the young, and then in May, the spring concert performance for River Valley Elementary. Nick, thanks for taking a little time to tell us what's going on here.
Yep, thank you.